Well, you won't be surprised when I say I couldn't be more delighted. I would say one of the results of the season at a very, very important time, with some difficulties within the group that you could see we had to try and contend with. One of the longest journeys, and a display that, you know, quite literally blew Vancouver away, I thought. The first half was one of the best 45 minutes I've seen from the team away from home. Of course, the goals make a difference, but the way that we controlled good periods of the game, frustrated Vancouver, and some terrific displays. I mean, it was wonderful to see, you know, Ethan's efforts. I thought Taylor was terrific. I mean, I could go through a number of players, but, you know, it would be remiss of me not to mention Jack, who was absolutely outstanding in front of goal, and also in his defensive duties. An absolute brick wall back there.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open the floor for questions. We'll kick it off with Tim Sullivan.
Gary, across these two games, you guys have scored 7 and allowed 0. Also allowed 0 shots on target overall across these two games. How important has the effort been supporting Joe to lead you guys to this success that had maybe been frustratingly out of reach in the couple of weeks before that?
I mean, the confidence from last weekend's game, I'm sure, was a big part of the way that the guys went about their business today. You know, to be able to win so convincingly, as I've said before, does an awful lot for your emotions and your mental aptitude. You feel, you know, like there's an opportunity to take 3 points every time you walk on the field, rather than a bit of trepidation. I have to say, the attitude from the moment that we got in the stadium from the players, there was just an intensity about the group. Annabelle, wonderful to see him on the field again for the 75 minutes. I thought he was immense in midfield, and led the guys. I mean, not just physically, but verbally. You know, there was a passion about the group that I honestly felt that we would get something out of the game. I wasn't sure whether it would be a point or 3, but I truly felt as though they were in the right place to get something out of the game.
Sydney Hunt.
Hey, Gary. Tim actually took one of my questions, but I'll ask you about Hanny. You know, he doesn't score tonight, but he becomes just a 15th player in MLS history to score double-digit assists, double-digit goals in multiple seasons. Again, making his presence felt throughout the night. I mean, I'd ask you how important he is to the playoff stretch, but I mean, pretty obvious that he is, right? I mean, what does it mean to have a player of his caliber, you know, producing really on a consistent basis?
Well, I'll try and answer a couple of things there, because it could be a pretty long answer given the player you're asking about. The first one is, you know, he was distraught when I took him off the field. And I mean that sincerely. You know, he is absolutely, you know, all in on chasing down this MVP award. And also, I think more importantly, getting us above the line and into a challenging position, or you know, maybe a more appreciative position in the league, where we can make the most of any playoff situation that we might get into. The other one is, you could see tonight with the armband, you know, I think there's a feeling around the group, certainly around the organisation, that we have an individual that's very, very special. He deserved the armband tonight. He's been immense for us all season, and since he's been here, to be quite frank. So maybe a little bit longer answer than I thought.
Ray Hills.
Yeah, Gary, the fact that, CJ wasn't even in the team, to have Ethan step in was another example of, pretty wholesale changes, as you like to say, whether it be Ethan, whether it be, as you mentioned, Jack. You mentioned some of the intensity that gave you a good feeling about where this team was going, but were you at all nervous or maybe keen to see what that would do to the team overall?
Yeah, when you make so many changes, some of them enforced, others not. There can be some difficulties in keeping some continuity, and of course changing shape again as well. There were some risks involved, no doubt. And also, one or two of those guys have not seen the field for a little while, so you're never quite sure how quickly they're going to, get up to speed. Have they maintained their sharpness, their match sharpness? And I think we can categorically say all of those guys have, and they were all instrumental in a wonderful result. I couldn't be more proud of the group that's gone out there, and that also includes someone like Annabelle, who's a seasoned international, but he's been out for a long while, and I know he had a cameo 10 or 15 minutes at the weekend just to get him into a better place, but he's worked tirelessly there for 75 minutes. And he's found a very, very good groove for the team tonight. He controlled good periods of the game.
Ben Wright.
Yeah, Gary, Jack Maher is obviously a guy who's started a lot for you and is clearly a starting quality defender. But with the switch to the back four, we've seen kind of his minutes limited some more recently. What did you make of his performance? Obviously the goals, but just to help, like Tim said, keep Vancouver without a shot on target. And did you think at all about having him come up for that penalty kick there at the end?
Well, let's take the first bit. Defensively, he was fantastic. He was tasked with dealing with what I felt might be Cavallini to begin with, but Brian White's a very capable centre forward, and physically he's a good specimen and difficult to play against. And I thought Jack and the back trio handled him very, very well. We obviously didn't see enough of Cavallini and White together, but his general defensive duties were of a very high level. He read the game well. He was brave. He was competitive. His detail on the ball, his quality on the ball was very, very good as well. And he built out terrifically. To add 2 goals to that is of course the icing on the cake. But the first one was as good as I've seen. I mean, it's Walker-esque. He absolutely thundered the ball into the roof of the net. An absolutely terrific header. And no, I didn't think about the hat trick. I thought Dax was the right choice. He's taken penalties before. I know Alex has. At that point in the game, I'm sure Jack felt as though he might want a hat trick, but the most important thing to us was to get that 4th goal, if we possibly could. And of course, it wasn't to be, but it was definitely the right choice for Dax.
We're going to follow up with a couple of questions from those in the room. Tim, go ahead.
Hey, Gary, especially when you guys are up a man already, I think in the past we might have expected you to make some defensive substitutions when you made those changes in the 65th minute there. Instead, you brought on Jacob and Luke, 2 pretty attacking-minded guys. Was there a sense that you wanted to continue to put the pressure on Vancouver, or what was kind of the decision to hold off on making some defensive substitutions until there were only about 10 minutes left in the game?
Well, first and foremost, I thought we had the opportunity for sure, adding a bit of pace with the 2, younger lads coming into the game to try and stretch the game out a bit. We were in a good place. I felt the energy from the group and the positivity from the group. They're both more than capable of doing a 2-way job, which they did. And of course, Jacob was instrumental in the penalty. So in many ways, it was some fairly decent choices. In the end, given the bodies on the line, we actually ran out of attacking players to come into the game. Otherwise, you know, it may well have been a case to bring Randall out. I think at the point, brought Sean out. You know, Daniel came in, but you know, there was still opportunities in that game, and of course, Vancouver are always going to be trying to push for a goal to get themselves back into a spot that they might be able to grab hold of something. So I felt we needed a couple of bodies on there that could give us a bit of a springboard to maybe ask some more questions.
We have a couple of people here in the room in Vancouver, so we're gonna go to them. Manuel, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, I'm really curious. What are you making of Hani Mukhtar's performance, not just today, but this season in general?
We had somebody ask us that question online here. He's been immense for us. You know, I hear plenty of comments, of course, around the MVP discussion. And, you know, for me personally, don't look any further. You know, what he gives the team is the most valuable individual that I can see in the league. And of course, other people might have a different opinion to me. I work with him every day. His attitude, his focus, his, you know, overall quality in any given game has been absolutely wonderful this year. And he must be in that top one for the MVP award.
How do you define his role exactly? Because it seems like, well, we all have this vision of him as being this playmaker. He's so much more than that. There's
So much more. And I think, you know, the energy that he brings to the game, he controls an awful lot of the tempo of the game for us, of course, in a creative sense, more so probably than in a lot of other ways. But his techniques in tight areas, outstanding. His awareness to break lines, to release other players, to switch the point of attack. And I think over the last 18 months, 2 years, his instincts to get himself into good areas to score and to be influential in the penalty box have improved year on year. His numbers, you know, whether it be athletically, whether it be possessionally or creatively, are off the charts.
Just like a final question on this. Just really curious, and it's probably a question we would like to hear. And obviously, you would want to keep him forever. But a player of this caliber, you couldn't see him play in a top 4 league in Europe. Not saying that that's what's going to happen, just you could see it, right?
Could I see it?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I think he's absolutely more than capable of that. You know, I see Hani as one of the elite players in this league, for sure. And I think as we look around the league, there have been many guys that are now being identified, you know, from some other big European or South American leagues. And they see, I think MLS is a fertile ground for some real talent. And why would you not see Hani in that bracket? However, he's on a long contract. It will cost people a lot of money. And I doubt that's going to happen very soon.
Alexander, go ahead.
Jacob's been with the club for, I guess, 2 games now, goal already, won a penalty today. I mean, what have you made of what he's brought to the club in just the short time you've worked with him?
Well, he's a terrific lad, first of all. I mean, that part of it you don't really know until you sign a player. Very genuine, very, very hardworking. And I think you can see from even a small amount of minutes today the impact he can have in an attacking sense. The shape of the group today didn't quite suit having him in that starting lineup. But he has been an absolutely wonderful addition on and off the field, and it gives us a completely different dynamic.
And then how nice is it? We don't see very many intra-MLS loans to get a player like him on loan, given how much he produced at the end of 2021 where he went on that run. How nice is it to get a player like that on a loan?
I mean, it doesn't happen very often, as you've rightly pointed out. I think, you know, we've been fortunate and also grateful that we can get the deal done, obviously, with Toronto. I'm sure it's a consequence of the multitude of riches that they have up there. And unfortunately for Jacob, he fell down the pecking order. But, Toronto's loss hopefully is our gain in this short period, and who knows, maybe it'll be for a longer term.
We have time for one more question. Sydney, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, looking at the remaining matches of the season, I mean, you've been around this league long enough to know that things can change on a dime, and even though you all are in a good way right now, I mean, this could easily go the other way, especially with the schedule you've coming up. LAFC, often twice, I should say, LAFC, and then a couple of other teams that are in the playoff hunt. How do you keep that sense of urgency? How do you keep from maybe getting too high and keeping your team's wits about you within these final 6 matches of the season?
I don't think this group are going to get too high, trust me. We're delighted that we've won back-to-back games for the first time this year, by the way. We'll be in great shape come Wednesday night to play Colorado, given some of the guys that didn't get on the field today. They needed a rest. There were some ailments that felt I had to, maybe offer some time to one or two guys. So we'll be in great shape for Wednesday. The guys, if you like, have got the bit between their teeth. They can see these final games are going to be a challenge. No doubt about that. We're playing some good sides, as you've mentioned. But I think we're in a position, and maybe for the first time in a little while, in a place of confidence and positivity that the players will be looking forward to these challenges now, rather than maybe seeing them as in an anxious fashion. I think they'll see it very, very differently now in this running.
Thank you. Tell us about the goals.
Yeah, I think the first one was just a really good corner kick from Hani. He puts it in a really dangerous area. We work on him all the time, and I was fortunate enough to get my head on it. And then the second one, honestly, I don't know how high Ethan got, but this guy jumped like a salmon and was soaring through the air. Honestly, did all the hard work. I was just right place, right time, able to put it away.
I think he just gave you the headline of the evening. Drake, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I've never heard that one before. A salmon. So I don't know if that's an Indiana thing. Maybe some English classes he took there. I don't know.
Actually, I heard that first from Alistair. Whenever we were
then that makes sense. That makes
it's
sense.
Canada thing, I guess.
Typically on brand. Yeah, it's interesting, Jack. Obviously, with Gary deciding to make a lot of changes in the lineup, it was clear that you were one to lead from the back, not just with the goals, but with your distribution as well. Did you feel that coming into this game? He talked about Anibal Godoy and really setting the tone. How did you feel like this was an opportunity for you and to lead the team in a way?
Yeah, whenever you're on the field, you have that opportunity to lead, and especially whenever I'm playing next to Dave, Eric, guys, veteran players, it really makes my job easy. As it relates to the distribution, I like to think that whoever I'm playing next to, I have trust in myself, they have trust in me, and it's one of those things that it's really just a confidence thing. Whenever I'm in a rhythm, it's just ended up being really well today. So I'm fortunate to have gotten the 3 points, more importantly, but it was just a really good game.
Team Sullivan, go ahead.
Jack, once you guys are up 3-0 and then shortly thereafter up a man, how do you maintain the focus to not only see out the victory, but prevent Vancouver from even getting a single shot on target in the entire match, and which is the second game in a row that you guys have been able to do that?
Yeah, I just think it's our whole team camaraderie and how tight we were defensively. I think it was one of our best defensive matches, coming off a really good one we had last week as well. So as we get closer to playoff time, it's really important that we continue that. And I know that's been something that Nashville and Gary harps on all the time about how can we get shutouts, how can we get clean sheets. And I think today was really good and a step in the right direction come playoff time.
Sydney.
Hey, Jack. I'm sure, on your way to the stadium, you expected to have a brace, right? But no, in all seriousness, you guys, were on a 6-match winless streak, I believe, but now you've won back-to-back. 7-0, as already mentioned, for the past 2 matches. Is it fair to say that this is kind of the real Nashville SC that fans have been waiting to see all season?
Yeah, I think we've had glimpses of it, but I think whenever we were in that tough spell, and I think a lot of teams will go through that tough spell, I just think we weren't getting the bounces. I think our energy, effort, the non-negotiables were always there for this team. I think whenever we look back at our performances and we didn't quite get the results, we were playing very well. And I think that now we're starting to get some of the bounces, and it's good fortune, good luck, whatever you want to call it. But it came at the right time.
Team Sullivan.
Yeah, I asked Dave a similar version of that question in the preview press conference. How did you guys kind of maintain the right mindset when you were performing pretty well but not seeing the final results? And then how vindicating is it to see the results now that you're kind of being rewarded for it?
Yeah, honestly, with a veteran group of guys, we always knew how good of soccer team we are, and having made the playoffs the past 2 years, it gives us that understanding of what we need to do, the output that we need to put in every single training session, every single game, and that hasn't wavered. We've been consistent, and in that tough time, we realized that the bounces were going our way. We were letting in fluke goals, uncharacteristic goals, and now it's good to be trending in the right direction again.